Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the How to Film Weddings podcast. My name is Nick Miller, and today John is not here, and that's all right. I am joined by an incredibly talented filmmaker, Chris Mai from Good Co Studios. Before we hop in, though, today, I wanted to let you know that I am so excited. There's a few things going on that I am just thrilled about. First off, Mastermind launch was incredible. We are so excited for all of the filmmakers that are joining us for this year for Mastermind. So thank you to everyone that listened to us and put up with us as we were talking so much about Mastermind. We know it's something that we really believe in, and we know that it is going to change people's businesses and change their lives. And so we are just very, very excited to move forward with 2023 Mastermind. The other thing that I am very excited about is that the Kansas City Chiefs, who are my football team, are in the Super Bowl. I'm wearing my Chiefs sweatshirt. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see that I am wearing my Chiefs sweatshirt. Anyway, just very, very excited. Can't wait to watch it. And so those are the things that I wanted to talk about. We're going to jump into this week's episode of the podcast right now. So let's hop on over there and talk to Chris from Good Co Studios. Well, Chris from Good Co Studios, how are you doing? Thanks so much for hopping on the podcast with me today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm doing really good. You can see my lime green room. This is not my house, promise. This is a Kauai Shores hotel out here in Kauai, an elopement. So just living my best Hawaiian, life right now.
Yeah. It's if you guys have the opportunity to follow Chris over there on Instagram, you'll notice that he's traveling like all over the place. And I swear you're in a new city like every couple of days or something. You're on an airplane. So why don't you kind of catch people up on what your 2022 season was like into 2023? Are you still traveling like crazy, or are you kind of cutting it back a little bit? What's going on with you?
Yeah. Man, work has been crazy, I would say, the past few years, ever since the pandemic hit. It's just been busy. 2022 was a very busy year. And so as far as like my business now and going forward, I'm taking half the amount of gigs that I have the past few years. So down to 15 weddings and elopements per year. So with that said, I'm already fully booked for 2023, and looking towards 2024 now with a couple bookings already. So yeah, just trying to dial back my work a little bit, trying to work on some other ventures, and just trying to find a little bit more balance in my life. As you know, like being a family man, it's a lot, so.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot. It is a lot, with family and taking care of them and stuff. And it's a lot for people that stay at home and, don't do travel and don't do destination. But now when you throw that in the mix, it's like now a 1-day event is taking 3 days or 4 days, and go. And so busy, so stressful. So if you figure out how to balance everything, you let me know, because I would like to know what that's like.
It's a lot of work, and it's having a supportive supports. That's redundant. A supportive system.
I like supportive supports.
There's a dad joke somewhere in there, but yeah, just having a really supportive system. My wife is great. She helps me out. Is super supportive, and it's a lot regardless of how you cut it. I think, I've been asked before, like, how do you find like work-life balance? And I'm like, well, first of all, it's tough, but and that's just the reality of it. I think the only thing you can do is just reduce the amount of work you take on. That's literally the only thing you can do.
Yeah. I think it's, being intentional is a big part of that. And It's really, really easy to get caught up in, I need to travel, or I am traveling. I need to film this. I need to do this for my couple. I need to do this for your client. And before long, it's like all I do is work and I don't do anything else. And my family misses me, or, my kids are crying for me, or whatever. And just being intentional with the decisions that you're making. I think, one thing that John and I have been talking about coming into this year is, we want things to be different in the year coming up. The 2023 season, we want things to be different, but yet we're not changing how we're doing anything, right? We're still booking the same amount of
Right.
things. We're not cutting
Right.
stuff out, or we're not raising our prices. And so
Mhm.
if you want to have a better work-life balance, if you want to make more
Mm.
money, if you want to, whatever it is, fill in the blank, you
Yeah.
need to you need to change something about how you have done stuff in the past, and expecting
Right.
different results with doing the same thing. What's
Right.
that, the definition of insanity or something, like doing the same thing over and over again whenever expecting different results, right? So
Right.
um
Right.
being intentional about that. So that's good to, a lot of people, especially that I've hear, that are diving more into the education space, which I know you're doing, and we'll, chat about that here in a little bit, but
Yeah.
having to sacrifice something in order to
Mhm.
make room for something else. I've been
Right.
hearing a lot of people
Right.
talk about that. So, would
Right.
you say that that's definitely at the forefront of your mind going into this year?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, it's so easy to just say yes to the exact same things to be in that routine. Because shooting weddings and elements is fun. Like
Mhm.
there's nothing bad about it. It's great. You get to travel, you get to meet different people. Like everything about it is great. But like you said, to be intentional about your time and really dig down and ask yourself, like, what do I want to do? What do I want my life to look like? Yeah, you do have to sacrifice those extra 5 gigs that you tacked on last minute, even if it is Hawaii, you have to say no and you have to say yes to the right things so that you are not spread too thin. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. Um, just thought of this as kind of a segue going into the next thing that I want to cover about being intentional. One thing
Right.
that I think that you have kind of, in my mind, have, I know there's been other people that have done it beforehand, and do it well, just like you
Yeah.
do it well. You're not a
Right.
pioneer in the sense that you were the one that came up with the idea, but I
Right.
think you are doing it well and being intentional, and that is the story session things that you have been doing. And so,
Yeah.
can you just spend a minute talking about what that is, and um, how that has changed your approach to filming a wedding day or an elopement, or whatever, is incorporating these little story session things?
Yeah. I think story sessions has honestly transformed my business. Um, and so, I mean, I don't even know where to start. Like, there's so many positives to it. I think the original reason why I wanted to do them more was because I loved how um, it affected my wedding films. I loved how it affected my relationship with the couple, like being able to spend more time with them in a non-stressful setting of a wedding. I think there's a lot to be said about that, where you get to break the ice in a brand new way, but still have it be in front of the camera. Um, and a byproduct of just like spending more time with them is that you just get to know their story better. So I just feel like there's so many positives in that way. But one big thing was, I noticed that even if, like, let's say you capture the wedding day and everything went well, like there was you captured everything well, you didn't miss out on anything. I felt like the story session always elevated the wedding film even further.
Mhm.
um and especially like if you didn't have a ton of time with the couple on the wedding day, let's just say there was just so many guests and you didn't have 20 minutes even to do golden hour shots, being able to fall back on still having a ton of shots with them on a separate day, whether that be, walking around the beach with them or hanging around at their house or going on a cenote tour with them and their family members, like just whatever it is, it adds so much more story, so much more dimension. And I feel like it just makes the couple more relatable. So yeah, I lean on it now. It's a part of my collections. You fighting without me without doing it. I just believe in it so much, and I feel like the right client who wants to hire me also believes in hanging out with me a little bit more than just the wedding day. So
Yeah. Yeah, I know as videographers, I think we are jealous of photographers in so many things, and one of those is the relationship that they're able to build. And
yeah,
typically the relationship that they're able to build is better than what we, because they have that engagement shoot. They have
Right.
that time outside of the wedding day where they can at least feel each other out a little bit and get to know
Yeah.
each other just a little bit. And,
Yeah.
all of us are way more comfortable whenever we are around people that we've spent time with, that we've had, discussions with
Yeah.
and conversations with and stuff.
Yeah.
And on a big stressful day, as a wedding, as an elopement, and I know people
Yeah.
don't want it to be, but it is. And
Yeah.
feeling someone out, like who is this guy? Who is this girl? Who is this person? And kind of working through that along with all the wedding stuff. The story sessions are great. And I love that you're able to build something more, and also just from like a sales side of thing. I mean, yes, you're getting to know the couple more and you're giving them a better product and all that kind of stuff. But, I remember for the longest time, I would watch films and I'm like, how are they getting all this extra stuff? How are they making, how do they have time to do this? I was like, well, they built a package or something that has more time. And now, like yesterday, I actually had a consultation with a couple and I was able to make it a selling point to get them to add more time. I was like, look what I was able to do when I went to this place and we were there for 3 days, and they got a 10-minute film. I can't do a 10-minute film of this quality unless I have extra time with them. So how, and I'm sure you get this question a lot with people doing mentor sessions or whatever, is when it comes to a story session, you've never done one. Or you really want, what advice would you give them, a filmmaker, to say, this is how you open the door into doing these story sessions.
Yeah, that's funny that you asked that, because I just had a mentorship session like a couple days ago and asked the same thing. They're like, how do you know what to do? Like, I just feel silly about let's just go get coffee or whatever. It just seems so generic, right?
Mm-hmm.
So how do I open the door? I think something that I do a lot just in general in my calls is I tell a lot of stories. I give a lot of examples, and it sort of opens the idea for them. So I've talked to you guys on the podcast before about how I, paint the picture about a time when a group of friends, sit around a fire, and I paint that picture. And so they see themselves there. And so I think I don't really put any pressure on the couple. I was like, so that's just an idea, but we can really dive into to see what makes sense for you guys. Is there something that you really love enjoying doing together? Is there a place that means a lot to you that we can go to? And sometimes that helps. Sometimes that does spark something. One couple was like, oh, we have a beach house and there's a private beach there, and we have had a lot of fond memories there. So great, let's go there. Let's just do a sunrise shoot or a sunset shoot out there, and we can just walk around. It doesn't have to be complicated. And I think setting the expectation of it doesn't have to be anything epic. It doesn't have to be like Yosemite in the background. And that's partially why I call it a story session. I don't call it an adventure session, because I don't want this huge expectation. But yeah, just relieving that pressure from them, being it could be as simple as walking around the neighborhood and going to get ice cream at your favorite place. And sometimes the story session idea is from just listening to their story. I think one example was the couple was during the pandemic we had bought a new house, so we were moving during the pandemic, and it was just so crazy. And then randomly it just came to me. I was just what if we do you have any work to do in the house? I know you're renovating it. They're yeah, we have some painting. I'm perfect. Can I shoot you guys painting your house? Because that's so symbolic and so beautiful. You guys are building your home together, but also building a life together. And so sometimes it just falls in your lap that way, but it really takes you listening intently, and as a creator, as a filmmaker, to find those little things in passing to them. There's oh yeah, we bought a house, and seeing the bigger picture, painting that out for them. Yeah.
Nick and I have to tell you about one of our favorite places to upload our wedding films, and that is Love Stories TV. Love Stories TV is one of the best free resources for us wedding filmmakers. The best part is they are bringing the couples to us. All we have to do is upload our films and we are good to go. Upload unlimited wedding films to your completely free business page. Setup is easy and your films can be live in just minutes. Now is the perfect time to start uploading to Love Stories TV. So head on over to howtofilmweddings.com/lovestoriestv to check out all of the details and see how Love Stories TV is giving away $10,000 in cash to wedding filmmakers just like you. That's howtofilmweddings.com/lovestoriestv to start uploading and connecting with the right couples today.
One question that we see wedding filmmakers asking, what is the best site for licensing music? We have one answer, MusicBed. I have been exclusively using MusicBed since 2016 and our films are better because of it. I have been told during consultations that couples love our films because they feel raw, authentic, and that the music wasn't cheesy. MusicBed has a roster of incredibly talented musicians, bands, and composers who pour their hearts into their work, and you can hear the difference. Find the perfect song with MusicBed's intuitive search features like genre, mood, beats per minute, and key, which is probably my favorite of the search parameters. Head over to howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed to do what I did and take your wedding films to the next level. Use promo code HTFW22 at checkout to receive 1 month free with the purchase of any annual subscription. That's howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed. Having people listen is huge.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we need to listen what people are saying. That is huge.
Right.
You know, picking up on little stuff, and you don't know, like, what can, like for instance, a wedding I filmed a couple of years ago. They talked about how whenever they would hold hands a lot and they hold their pinkies together.
I love that.
But they said the reason that we did that, I can't remember like off the top of my head, but there was some symbolic meaning to them that meant something more than this is just how we hold hands. Like it meant something to them. And so I was for sure to say when I was on the wedding day, hey, I want to, like from behind, they were walking and they just naturally did it. So I filmed it because I had remembered them saying that. And then when I put it in, they made a comment saying, I can't believe you did that. Like that means so much. That's more than just like that kind of shot to us. Right.
Yeah.
And
so, I love that.
Listening to things, thinking outside of the box, and, you know, being intentional about the things that you do. I love the idea of calling it a story session, because you're trying to tell like that couple's story. And we often think, okay, let's go to Yosemite. Let's go to somewhere incredible, to somewhere gorgeous or whatever. But is that who the couple is? Is that what they want?
Right.
Like what matters to them? What's important to them? And I love that you had the thought come to you like, hey, you're building a house. This is a good metaphor for your life and what's going on and all this stuff. So let's just film it. So story sessions, it doesn't have to be something grand and epic, and it doesn't have to even be, we're going to go on a quote unquote engagement shoot where I just, you know, pose you in a park and we do so. Like, let's do something that's real life.
Right.
So
I feel like that's bare minimum. Like, I always tell them, like, at the very least, because some couples are like, I don't know, we like to watch Netflix and eat Grubhub, that's how we spend time together. I'm like, okay, but, which could be cool if you like film it right, but so at bare minimum, I'm always like, you know, if we don't really know, like, we can just go out somewhere and just like kind of hang out during like good lighting, and I'll make it work. Like, and I tell them, like, just think scenes from a movie. Like, it's not really an engagement shoot. I don't want you to like twirl each other around. I don't need to do all that stuff. Like, literally, like, let's go out, let's sit on a park bench, let's talk, let's walk around. That way it can feel more natural. And I actually, now that you mentioned story sessions, I actually just got an email, I think when I was traveling yesterday. One of my brides reached out. She was like, hey, just checking in. She's like, I had an idea for our story session. She's like, my mom has a beach house at the Oregon coast, and it would be fun to go out there. You can actually like drive the Jeep on the beach, like on the sand. And then we're thinking like or maybe we can do a bonfire with our friends. I'm like, oh my gosh, you just like did it for me. Like, that's just, yes, all of that. Yes, let's do it.
Yeah. That sounds incredible. And I love it that you've, in communicating with your couples and talking to them and setting up this story session, now you've done it enough times whenever people are like, well, what is a story session? We're like, here, watch this video. Everything that wasn't on the wedding day was a story session.
Right.
So you can kind of, help frame it and that sort of stuff. But you've done it enough now where it's people, I'm assuming they're excited to get married. They're excited to elope. They're excited to do that stuff. But the story session is all a part of that excitement that they're looking forward to.
Yeah.
It's now, I'm assuming, one of the big reasons that you're getting hired for a wedding day is because you've implemented this stuff. So,
yes, absolutely. I think it was one of my couples like a year or two ago. They reached out to me after the wedding and was like, the story session was our favorite part from the wedding.
Yeah.
Because they actually exchanged their vows the day before their wedding. And so there was like more meaning behind it, but they just loved being able to run around, have it be more relaxed. And that meant a lot to me. So that was cool.
Yeah. That's really cool. That is really cool. So, I want to, talk a little bit about another thing that you're doing with filming, but I want to touch base real quick on a sponsor of our podcast, and that is MusicBed. I think, didn't they just sign you on to have a playlist and stuff too?
Yeah, I'm an ambassador. They asked me, a little while ago, and that was a huge honor. But yeah, the best music licensing site out there. Like, I'm not just saying that. Yeah.
No, I'm. They do sponsor the podcast, and if you sign up for an annual subscription and use promo code HTFW23, they can get you a month free off of your subscription. But I've not, like, I was a longtime MusicBed listener before we even started How to Film Weddings, and they're incredible, and I love it that it might take a little bit of searching, it might take a little bit of looking, but I have never been let down by their songs and their services, and they have all the vibes, all the stuff. So if you're out there listening and you want some great quality music, we highly recommend MusicBed. Go to howtofilmweddings.com/musicbed to find out a little bit more information there. There's a QR code on the screen, link in description, all that stuff. So check that out. Another thing that, as we were talking, you were at our mastermind retreat in Palm Springs for a couple of days, just hanging out with us, having a good time.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you said to me, and I think I had heard you say this before, but you've pretty much, for the most part, have quit stopped shooting in 60 frames per second. You're like, now we're only doing 24p, not doing 60, unless it's very intentional, and you can talk about this. So can you just talk for a second on that shift that has gone on and why you decided to do that and how it has helped you or hindered you, or just kind of all this stuff about, because I'm sure a lot of people like look at your work like, man, that looks good, but how do I go 24 now that I've gotten used to the crutch of 60? Yeah, just talk.
Right. Yeah. Well, first of all, it's great on your hard drive. But especially when, I went 4K 60 10-bit, it was getting a lot, but that's not the reason why. I just found myself. So I use 4K 60 as a crutch for a long time. If I needed to slow it down, if I was too shaky, that I would just slow it down. But for the most part, I was trying to just conform everything to 24. I just like the natural look better. I like being able to use natural audio when I could better. And it got to a point where I wasn't slowing down anything. And then I just asked myself, like, is it even worth it anymore? Should I just make the jump? Which is so scary to think about. And I'm sure a lot of filmmakers kind of, think about that themselves. But I just kept going and kept doing 4K 60. And there was one edit where I'm like, oh, I was a little too shaky. Let me slow this down. And then I hated it. Like, I was just so accustomed to seeing everything 24. I was like, immediately, as soon as that one slow-mo shot hit, I was like, this is cheesy. Like, I feel like it didn't add anything. And I think that was when I had this existential crisis of like, okay, It's like I could slow a few things down, but does that actually add anything to my film? And most of the time it didn't. I think I just did it because it was just easier and you can just move along in your edit. And so that was when I was like, all right, let's go 24. And as you know, Nick, like I shoot pretty much handheld all day other than like tripod sticks here and there for extra angles. But I was also wondering, like, would handheld look better at 24 with like the natural motion blur, like 1/50? And scientifically, I don't know, like if it does look better, but maybe like the shakes that I do have in there are less sharp potentially. I'm not sure. But yeah, I just fully committed to shooting. Oh, hi Siri. She interrupts everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just I made the switch and I love it. It makes me more intentional. We were talking about intentionality earlier, but it makes me more intentional when I shoot. I have to be really conscious about how still I'm being, and also maybe waiting a few extra seconds, just like because your cadence does change in how you shoot. You can't be like, oh, I can get away with like 2 seconds of footage because if I slow that down, that'd be like 4 seconds or whatever. But just slowing down, looking at the room more, looking at lighting, looking at composition, I felt like it just kind of made me a better shooter. And yeah, so I just love it now.
I'm sitting here thinking, and I know that over probably the last couple of years, I've definitely been leaning more into using. I still shoot pretty much everything 60, but I'm using a lot less of it being in slow-mo, and just kind of letting it, go real speed. And,
Right.
but I would think that, I mean, it's a crutch that you're always, well, if something, I can always slow it down if I need to. I can always slow it down if I need to. And, I think there is something about, like, just as a creative, the creative process of like boxing yourself in just a little bit by saying, okay, slow motion is now out the window. So how is this going to change what I do? How is this going to affect how I'm thinking? And yeah, I can imagine that it causes you to film differently. I'm sure that there was a little bit of a learning curve to go from, back to that. I remember, back when I started with the Canon 5D Mark II, it did 30 frames per second. Like that was all it could do. It couldn't. It couldn't do 60. And so like everything was in real time. And then whenever I learned to do slow-mo, I was like, holy cow, this is awesome. And, everything was in slow-mo. And I remember this year I had kind of gotten into as I was editing a film, and the couple really wanted something to be more like romantic and more flowy and that sort of thing. Sure. And I didn't use like hardly any slow motion in the stuff. And Jen watched it and she goes, Nick, what are you doing here? Like you've kind of, kind of gone the other way. And so, but anyway, I think that's really cool and intentional. And I think that, I when it comes to slow motion wedding films, I don't think it's ever going away. Like what we do, it's one of those things that it leans very well to slow motion, right? Right. The more the romantic and like that kind of thing. Yeah, but I think that we're starting to get a lot more people that the more that they do it are like questioning, why am I putting everything in slow motion? Why am I doing so much in slow motion? And I just love to hear that you're not doing that, and encouraging other people, hey, maybe try to film something. And see what that's like.
Yeah, I just feel, at least personally, I feel like I'm bashing on slow-mo. Some of my favorite filmmakers shoot in a lot of slow-mo. Like,
I hear that you're bashing all of this.
Yeah. Like Henry Martin's, like he uses a ton of slow-mo, but it like really works for him. I think it's just his pacing and his edit and everything else. Like there's so many more elements. I think if you're using slow-mo and all of your cuts are like 6 seconds long, I think it's a bit too much. But I think shooting in real time, I think for me it was the prep. Like I think with prep, I just felt really weird about using slow-mo because people weren't moving a ton, and I felt just like a disconnection there. And so I was like, okay, I'll do 24 for prep, maybe 60 for portraits because, it's a more romantic and like moody or whatever. But then I just got too used to 24 that I'm like, I'm just gonna do 24 for portraits as well. But to all that, yeah, you were saying how what it felt kind of leads itself to slow mo, and I do agree because it's like we're shooting an event. It's a live event. So many things are happening fast paced. This is not a movie set where you're planning every scene, where the talents are going to move and stuff like that. But with that said, I find a lot of inspiration from films and shows. And one of my favorite shows is Friday Night Lights. And I love like the handheld feel of it. And I think that's a large reason why I decided to go 24p as well, because I love that type of storytelling. I love how you felt like a person from Dillon, Texas, living in a football town.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's really good. And for any listeners out there that might be interested in, I've been shooting 60 slow-mo like my whole career, it freaks me out to go 24, that stuff. I like what you said. I think you maybe accidentally slipped in some advice there about how to get going, which was like, you started filming bride prep in 24 and then you flipped to 60 later. Maybe filming a part of the day that it would be okay if it wasn't in slow motion, starting with the bride prep and getting used to that, or starting with groom prep and get close, or however you want to go about that, and getting used to it and getting comfortable with it. And, like that's where I would recommend, not the whole day if it's, unless you just want to do something crazy, but then, you have your clients to deal with there. But that's some good advice, I think.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure. So, so we have a new sponsor here on the podcast, and that is Wedding Post House. And if you guys don't know who they are a company that you can outsource to, but all they do is actually just cull all of your footage for you. So you can send them everything. They will cull it down for you. They will sync all of your ceremony and toasts and all of that sort of stuff, and then get it back to you, and you can jump right into your edit. I know that when I'm editing, the culling is the worst part in my mind, because I just want to start like putting the creative thing together, and now I have to spend a day or two and it just, I don't like it. So I procrastinate a little bit. So Wedding Post House is someone that you can send your entire wedding to. They will cull it for you so that you can jump in and get started. And they are our sponsors of the new question of the day. And if you go to howtofilmweddings.com/questions, you can submit a question of your own, so we will read it on air. And question that I want to talk to you about a little bit, Chris, is just the destination world. What is kind of your experience with being a destination filmmaker?
Yeah, thank you. Being a destination filmmaker, it's everything. It's fun and it's exciting and it's so cool to be able to shoot in, new locations. Like I find a lot of inspiration and creativity being able to shoot in different spots. So, leaning into like this destination wedding and elopement filmmaker, title has been a lot of fun. With that said, it's also a lot of work, like we had talked about earlier, with family and everything like that. So you have to really think about like how it fits into your lifestyle and your life, and, if it's practical. And another side that people don't talk about is like it's lonely. I'm out here having the time of my life. I had some drinks and food on the beach yesterday, which I'm not complaining, but it can be lonely as well if you're a solo shooter.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been exciting, and I think it's become a big part of my business. And as you know, you do a lot of what you show, and you do a couple of destination stuff, and then people just think you live in the airport. So
yeah, definitely. It's one of those things that's definitely glamorized in our business, but it's not for everyone. I think. I mean, Jen and I do a lot of destination work, we live in Wichita, and all of our weddings that we shot were outside of Wichita last year.
Right.
So,
Right.
but the thing that I have that you don't is my wife comes with me to every single wedding and is there when I'm gone for 3 or 4 days. And so if I were in your shoes, I might have rethunk how I do stuff, because it can be lonely. The times that a couple of times I have gone solo by myself. I'm like, man, I'm bored. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I don't know anyone here, that sort of stuff. So anyway, yeah, destination work, it can be sought, but it's not for everybody. And I think that that's something that we want to let people know. But Chris, if people are interested in jumping into the destination world, I think that you have something that you are launching that might help people. Do you like that segue? That might help people kind of springboard them a little bit into that destination world. So why don't you talk about this new retreat that you are going this year?
Yeah, thank you. Great segue.
You didn't even know I was going there, did you?
Yeah, I was like, what, pow? Yeah. So I recently just launched Sonder Retreat. It's basically an intimate destination filmmaker retreat. So, man, what do I say about it? I think some of the core elements of what Sonder is one, it's going to be at a cool destination. The goal is to make it abroad every single time. We'll see how that goes. And then the second big core piece of Sonder is keeping it to a really intimate size. So we're capping every retreat at 8 people. And I know that's a really small number. It's very exclusive, but it's sort of the promise I want to make to everyone that attends Sonder. I just want to have this opportunity, to have this experience, to just be a few good people, a few people that you can share a meaningful meal over and have thoughtful conversations and learn about people's lives. And I think that's the whole foundation of Sonder, is just to create a platform, do it somewhere abroad where it feels romantic and that you're sort of just outside of your normal routine a little bit. So that you have the space to grow as a filmmaker, to be able to, get to know people that you wouldn't have crossed paths with. But yeah, Sonder Retreat, it's going to be epic. And the first episode is in Iceland, which I'm so excited about. I'm so excited about, just because I know it's a bucket list location for a lot of people. It's so beautiful there. And I remember when I went there and being in the airport when I was leaving and just being like, I can't wait to come back. And I've been in a lot of amazing places, luckily, with my line of work, but Iceland just hit really, really different. And I wanted to pick a place that I had been to before so that I can feel like a proper host. Yeah, Iceland's just so beautiful, so easy to navigate. I just thought it would be a first great stop for Sonder. And yeah, I just announced all the info. You can use this QR code to go to the website. And tickets the application process doesn't start until February 7th.
Okay. Yeah, February 7th, which I believe is tomorrow. After we drop this episode. So, but in what is the website?
Yeah, it's sonderretreat.com, SONDER retreat. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, head over to, if you're listening to this on launch day, head over to sonderretreat.com. And I'm sure is there a wait list or, be notified kind of thing? Or are you not doing that? Or is it just come back on the 7th and
Yeah. I had talked to my experience coordinator and we were just like, no, we'll just have people come back. There's an application on the website, and then just do that.
Okay, so it's February 7th. So tomorrow, as we drop this, head over to sonderretreat.com and fill out that application. And when is this? Do you have dates? Have you announced those?
Yeah, no, I have announced that. See, I'm really bad at this. I haven't launched anything before. So September 25th through the 28th. And I guess I should say who it's for too. Sonder, yes, while it is a filmmaker retreat, It's going to be catered more towards filmmakers that are more in the middle of their career. People that can proficiently shoot weddings, feel really good about everything, know the in and outs of their camera, and are just looking to elevate their work a little bit more. Maybe like look at the big picture a little bit more, looking about how to shoot a little bit more intentionally. Because like while the retreat is, just like a fun hangout, like going to go see things, there's some content stuff to be had. The little bit of education that's going to be shared there is going to be revolved around like how to really lean into your art, how to lean into like great composition and lighting. And I think that's what's going to really elevate people's storytelling and work a little bit. So yeah.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. So again, the QR code's on the screen, or sonderretreat.com if you would like a little bit more information. Chris, thanks so much for hanging out with me today and just chatting some about things you're up to. If people aren't currently following you, and they just like to see what you're up to and all your travels and all the things, where can they do that?
Yeah, I'm probably most active on my Instagram, so it's Good Co Studios, and yeah, that's probably the best one.
Okay, so head over to Good Co Studios on Instagram, and you can see all the cool stuff that Chris is up to, like sitting on the beach, just on a log, looking out at the beach and having a drink and having a good time and all that stuff. So
yeah,
again, thank you so much for hanging out with me, and listeners, check out Sonder. Be sure to do that, and until next time, we'll see you.
Thank you so much, Nick. Later, guys.
Are you looking for a better way to deliver your wedding films? Look no further. Our friends over at VidFlow provide the most flexible video delivery solution on the market. VidFlow is pay-per-use with no large upfront costs or commitment, and you can cancel at any time. VidFlow offers a premium viewing experience for all of your couples, accessible on mobile, tablet, desktop, as well as their very own suite of TV apps. Each project comes with 10 years of hosting and an experience for your couples that will blow them away. Head over to howtofilmweddings.com/vidflow, where you can save 20% off a yearly business membership by using promo code HTFW20. Stop delivering your films the old-fashioned way. Give your couples something to rave about by using VidFlow.